Mr. Drum? Mr. Randolph? Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Mr. Randolph, all rise for the invocation, please. Turn your mic on, please.
Gracious Father, once again, we stand before you with bowed down heads but lifted heart, thanking you for all the blessings you bestowed in our lives. We thank you for this commission and everyone in this audience, and we thank you for the citizens we serve in the parish, government as well. Help us to make decisions that are beneficial to our government as well as our citizens. And all these blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Richard, pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item is the approval of the January 14th meetings. It's been brought to my attention that there's a little bit of confusion on the minutes, and I'll accept a motion to postpone until the March meeting so this can be clarified.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Matthews, seconded by Mr. Randolph. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to, at this time, if it please the commission, to introduce my grandson, who is going to be sitting up here and learning what's going on with it, my grandson Conley Bantam.
Okay, good. Welcome aboard. All right, the consent calendar. Any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically dispensed by vote as approved and/or as per staff comments. Items pulled from the consent calendar shall be discussed and voted upon individually. Staff, do we have any that need to be pulled?
No, sir, nothing pulled.
Any members of the commission need anything pulled? Seeing none, any members of the audience need any pulled? Seeing that none need to be pulled, I'll accept a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Hines, seconded by Mr. Davis. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, on page 2, go to preliminary subdivision review. I think we have a couple of items here that we probably need to hear together but vote on individually. The first item there, the SD 14-01-001P, the Estates of Money Hill.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'd like to hear that with the first item under final subdivision review.
Okay. So it's a motion by Mr. Willie to hear the
I'll
final-
second it.
the preliminary and final subdivision review on the Estates of Money Hill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. We will hear those two together. The first one on the preliminary is SD 14-01-001P, the Estates of Money Hill Plantation, Ward 5, District 6. The developer owner is Money Hill Plantation LLC. Engineers J.V. Burks and Associate. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Richard Tanner. And under final subdivision review, SD 14-01-001F, the Estates of Money Hill, Ward 5, District 6. Developer owner Money Hill Plantation LLC. Engineers J.V. Burks and Associate. Parish Council District Representatives Honorable Richard Tanner. Staff?
The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office and inspections made of the site. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following. 2A is okay. 2B is okay. Roadside ditches cannot be used for detention, all in accordance with subdivision 499. Therefore, the hydrologic study must be revised to conform to ordinance 499. We're working with the developers on that right now. 2D and E are okay, F is okay, G through I are okay. No maintenance obligations required since this project fronts on a state highway. No mandatory developmental fee is required at final submittal in accordance with Ordinance 499 since the public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Right now, we're investigating that, and it'll be subject to staff determining that that is correct.
All right.
Planning has one comment for informational item. The Parish Code requires a land clearing permit be applied for and obtained through the Department of Development prior to the developer receiving a work order in conjunction with the preliminary subdivision review process.
All right, then, let's see,
Do you want me to read final now?
we'll get the comments on the final.
want him to read final?
Yeah, let's go to final. It's SD 14-01-001F. It's on, first item on page 3, the estates of Money Hill. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction. The final inspection was made on January 31st, 2014. The inspection is closed that the 2-inch base course of asphalt has been constructed with the wearing course to follow in the near future. Road shoulders need final grading. Roadside drainage is functioning. The following uncompleted items exist at the time of final inspection. Need base test results, need asphalt test results, need floppy disk or latest format. 2D is okay. 2E is okay. Direction of drainage on individual lots is needed. However, some lots will not drain to the roadway and will not drain to a drainage servitude. The developer is requesting a waiver of this requirement because of rolling terrain. The Department of Engineering has no objection to the waiver. A 2/3 affirmative vote of the Planning Commission membership is required for a waiver. Ditch invert elevations at each property corner are needed. 911 addresses are needed on each lot. Developer signature is needed on the plat. J is okay. Revise certification by removing the 2 paragraphs above dedication. Make a note on the plat and paving and drainage drawing that the 2-inch asphalt is existing with an additional 2-inch at a later date. The hydrological study needs to be revised to conform with Ordinance 499. Like I said previously, we're working with a subdivision design engineer on that detail. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a performance obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of $29,000 for a period of 6 months. No warranty obligation is required at this time. The staff recommends approval for the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Like I said previously, we're investigating that, and we'll have to determine that that is accurate.
All right. Let's see, Ron, you don't have any comments, and Environmental doesn't have any comments, okay? Mr. Shane?
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Good evening. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent Money Hill Plantation, LLC. I have with me this evening Ms. Mimi Dossett, who is, of course, the president, and our engineer, Mr. Sean Burks. We are in accord with all staff comments. We understand that there are a few items still under investigation. We also, though, concur with any items that have been suggested that have not been completed, but that must be completed before the plats are signed and recorded. This request is a little unusual in that you won't often have a preliminary and final hearing combined, but in this instance, the road had previously been constructed pursuant to a minor subdivision approval that we got for 4 lots. This is the addition of other lots on that same road, so we were ahead of the game, if you will, with regard to the infrastructure, and we appreciate staff giving us the opportunity to combine the preliminary and final subdivision hearing this evening. So with that having been said, we respectfully request that you grant both preliminary and final, subject to the comments made by staff and the affirmations that I've given you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on either one of these preliminary or final subdivisions on Money Hill? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Matthews.
Jeff, I just have one question. On 2F, it indicates that the drainage needs to be shown on the plat. Is there some reason that the direction of drainage is not shown on the plat?
I think that it is in some instances, but you're talking about with regard to the drainage arrows for the individual lots?
I guess that's what it says, the direction
Yeah.
of drainage on individual lots is needed. And you're requesting a waiver of the lots not draining towards the roadway.
Correct.
First of all, is there a reason that the direction is not on the plats?
I think probably oversight initially, but it has been placed on the plats which have been submitted, perhaps not reviewed yet. But yes, there is an arrows have been placed. But number two, there are special elevations. I think you're familiar with the Money Hill area. And there will be lots that, because of their elevations, will not necessarily drain to the front, to the road. And that is the reason that some of these lots will have a different drainage pattern.
Okay, and staff, you all that the drainage arrows are on the plat now, is that correct? Or do we not? Do we know?
I'm not certain. I know they were on the hydro
But
study.
we commit to have them on the plat that you're asked to sign,
Okay,
each and every lot.
okay. And tell me the waiver, you're requesting a waiver because of the rolling terrain?
Yes, sir.
And that some lots just physically cannot drain in that direction?
That is consistent with some other large lot subdivisions that I've brought to
Okay.
you in the past.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Davis?
Yeah, Jeff, looking at the plat from Lot 1 to Lot 9, north and south, Lot 12 looks like it has that little preliminary wetlands. This is on the final
Okay.
map. Yeah, Lot 12, looks like it's almost in the middle of that. Is that where most of the fluid is going to be draining off of? Instead of going to the street, it'll be going to the back of the property?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Matthews?
Move to accept with the conditions from the staff and move to grant the waiver.
Second.
Okay, this is on the preliminary?
Yes.
Okay. We
They
have
don't,
a
they
motion.
don't need the waiver till the permanent, is that right?
Pardon?
They don't
Right.
need the waiver till the final?
Right,
Okay, well then,
They need a waiver on both.
on
On
both?
both?
Okay,
okay. Your motion includes the waiver.
the waiver, on,
Okay.
yeah,
So
preliminary.
we have a motion on SD 14-01-001P. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Willie. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. And then we go to the final, SD 14-01-001F. Guessing that the discussion all remains the same. Do we have a motion on
Yes,
this?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we grant the request subject to the staff's comments, and that we grant the waiver, and additionally, that we strike the no mandatory development fee statement until it's determined whether there in fact are mandatory development fees.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Mr. Willie and Mr. Hines, I believe, also seconded. So, any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is page 2, SD 04-08-024 PP9, Beattyco Creek, Partial 9, Deer Park, Ward 1, District 1, developer owner Beattyco Creek Preserve LLC. Kelly McEwen Associates is the surveyor. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
The preliminary plans and hydraulic study have been reviewed by this office and inspections made of the site. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following. Show benchmark on plat. Road names are the same. Check with 911 administrator. Street name signs are green, background with white lettering for private subdivision. No maintenance obligations required since this is an extension of a private subdivision. No mandatory developmental fees are required at final submittal in accordance with the ordinance 499 since the public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005.
Number 1 is okay. Plans and specifications for the construction of the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines have not yet been approved by the Department of Health and Hospitals as required. No work order will be issued until the submitted plans and specifications are approved by DHH.
Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm in Covington, and I represent Beetle Creek Preserve LLC. We're in accord with all staff comments, understand the things that need to either be revised and/or submitted for review, and ask that you grant preliminary approval.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioners, do you have any discussion on this? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve it.
Moved by Mr. Hines to
Second.
approve, seconded by Mr. Matthews. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item SD 08-06-008P1, Tammany Phase 1, Ward 7 and 9, District 7 and 11. Developer, owner is Warehouser Real Estate Development. Engineers Kelly McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District Representatives Arnold Jacob Groby and Steve Stefancic. All right, and the other one
That's the old business item, Mr. Doherty, for
there it
Tammany.
is, okay. On page 3, under old business, SD 08-06-008, Tammany Phase 1 revised tentative, Ward 7 District and 9, District 7 and 11. Developer, owner, Warehouser Real Estate Development. Engineers Kelly McHugh and Associates Incorporated. Parish Council District Representatives Honor Jacob Groby and Steve Stefancic. We need a motion to hear these two together and vote separately.
I'd like to make a motion to hear both of these together and
We
then
have a
vote separately.
motion by Mr. Davis to
Second.
hear together, seconded by Mr. Matthews. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, on the preliminary subdivision review,
We're going to hear, excuse me, Mr. Doherty, old business first for the tentative revised. That should come first.
okay?
Okay?
Yep, you're right. All right, on page 3, under old business, SD 08-06-008, Tammany Phase 1, revised tentative, Ward 7 and 9, District 7 and 11, developer, owner, Warehouser Real Estate Development Company. The engineers Kelly McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District Representatives Honor Jacob Groby and Steve Stefancic. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This proposal represents a revision to the original tentative subdivision plat that was approved by the commission back in June of 2008, when at the time the development was known as University Square. The original proposal comprised 4 phases consisting of 919 lots. However, the current revised plan now envisions a Phase 1 that will include a town center, a college and high school campus, as well as some residential units. All other areas depicted on the revised plat are labeled as future phases, since the developer has not yet determined the layout of the said future phases. The comments from the department, number 1, the zoning designation on the information block on the plat indicates that said zoning varies, when in fact the zoning is a plan unit development PUD, therefore the plat needs to be corrected. Comment 2, restrictive covenants under number 3 states that setbacks will vary. However, since this is a PUD, the setbacks should be site-specific for each lot or phase. Therefore, the developer needs to provide the setbacks on the plat for at least the Phase 1 lots that are detailed as shown. The staff recommends approval of the proposed revised tentative subdivision plat, subject to the developer complying with all staff comments. And Mr. Fontenot with our department, the director, would like to make some additional comments.
Mr. Fontenot?
Yes, this is, and before we get to the engineering's comments, this is simply, if you remember, you recently did a PUD amendment to look at the new layout for Tammany, and this is just the next step in essentially ratifying that on the subdivision side, and then we'll move to the preliminary, which would be the first phase of the development after this vote.
Okay, thank you.
The attached letter has been supplied with respect to the traffic study for the development. Until such time that a revised TIA is received, Phase 2 will not receive approval. This submittal for tentative approval of the roads only is approved with the understanding that should the revised TIA require additional upgrades to the roadways, those upgrades will take place at the appropriate time. A DOTD driveway permit is required. All turn lanes as identified in the TIA shall conform to DOTD standards and requirements, including but not limited to required storage links. Any other requirements that are put in place by DOTD as part of the driveway permit process shall also be the sole responsibility of the developer. Add the following statement to restrictive covenant number 6, quote, or 1 foot above the crown of the street, whichever is greatest. Informational item, need legal description on preliminary plat.
All right, staff has no further comments? We clear?
Want to go through preliminary as well? Would it make sense to do the preliminary as well, or what's
Yeah.
your pleasure?
Let's hear the comments on preliminary as well.
The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and inspections made of the site. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following. 2A, we determined is not applicable. Currently, it's future development, it'll come up. 2B is okay, 2C is okay, 2D is not gonna be needed until there's future development in that area of the subdivision. E and F are okay. All entrances shall be constructed with 1 inbound lane and 2 outbound lanes, exclusive left and right turn lanes coming from the development. According to the traffic study at full build-out, there will also be a second left turn lane required coming out of the development at 2 of the entrances. It was recommended that these entrances be built wide enough to accommodate the addition of these dual left turn lanes at a later date. What this is saying is that they'll need to adjust the location of the current lanes by a few feet so they have the required 6-foot median in place in the future development condition. H is okay, I is okay. The original TIA showed the need for left turn lanes off of LA 434. However, those turn lanes are not shown in the plans. Detailed plans must be submitted and approved for all required turn lanes on LA 434. Need legal description on the plat. No maintenance obligations required since this project fronts on a state highway. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with Ordinance 499, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005.
Number 1 is okay. Number 2, plans and specifications for the construction of the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines have not yet been approved by the Department of Health and Hospitals as required. No work order will be issued until the submitted plans and specifications are approved by DHH.
Mr. Chair, this proposed Phase 1 would essentially set out the structure, the infrastructure itself for the beginning of this project. It also establishes 6 lots. 4 of those are going to be owned or are owned by the parish, and allows us to move forward with our the project St. Tammany Advanced Campus, which is a proposal which we have actually one tenant who is preparing or beginning the process to actually construct the North Shore Technical College, is going to be a resident of this site. Is going to take one of the lots on this site. So what we'd like to do is get moving on the infrastructure itself. We have some deadlines to meet some grant obligations in order to bring that to fruition. If you remember, we had a situation where we were ready to go with this when the economy went bust. And so we're starting to see the movement again. We're starting to move forward again. Gina Campo, Chief Operating Officer, and Eddie Williams, our Director of Engineering, are here to answer any questions about that specific project if you'd like. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fontenot. Mr. Shane.
Jeff Shane again of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, and I represent Redco. Probably a good night for me not to say too much because I think you've heard all of it from staff and Mr. Fontenot's comments. But simply stated, the tentative will be your confirmation of the PUD amendment that we did a few months ago, and the preliminary will be your authorization to allow Weyerhaeuser Real Estate Development Company to put in the infrastructure, the roads. We understand that there are other open items as noted in the staff comments, and we would appreciate your approval subject to those staff comments. We have no problems with any of them. But we're looking forward to moving the project forward, not only for the benefit of the developer, but also for the benefit of the parish and the other schools that will be locating on these public properties.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Davis.
Jeff? I really like the infrastructure plan you have set for this. You know, I like the 3 entrances you have on 434. I like the way, and I'm assuming you're gonna go ahead and use some of the field for digging out the ponds to make the Legends Boulevard and all that such, going all the way around. I think that's very good planning. And the sewage treatment plant, that's gonna be a finished road too, going all the way to the sewage treatment plant as well?
Yes, eventually, yes.
And then after all that infrastructure is created, then just phase 1 is gonna be built out. And then you're gonna, I assume you're gonna see how things go and then go to the next phase.
That's right.
After that. I think it's very well done.
As you know, this is a multi-use community, and we have real hope that as the community begins to grow, not only with the construction of the public facilities, but as the market continues to show upturn, we have the opportunity to create jobs. I have business there, whether it's office, whether it's light retail, or whether it's some form of warehousing distribution. And we also have the opportunity, of course, for residential growth. So we think this is going to be the beginning of something very exciting for Lacombe and Highway 434.
I agree. I think with the Lacombe, living in Lacombe myself and having the hospital there and then having the coroner's office and then having your area, I make a motion to approve the tentative plat.
Okay, Mr. Matthews.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to see if Ms. Campo would like to come up and explain what we're doing here. This appears to be a very interesting project, and I don't think we have enough information.
All right, Ms. Campo? Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Fine.
And I can speak to the project that is moving forward at the site on behalf of the parish. What we have as the first phase of what is now called the St. Tammany Advanced Campus, formerly known as the Learning Center, is approximately 23,000 square foot building that will be occupied by North Shore Technical Community College. That is basically a relocation of their facility that was in Slidell that flooded. They will be using FEMA funds, and the state, through the Facilities Planning and Control Department, will be moving forward with construction of that as soon as we've got the infrastructure in place. On behalf of the parish, we are moving forward with design of the infrastructure. We're almost at 100% plan, so we're ready to bid it out. We're actually utilizing some grant funds to put that infrastructure in, which will include what you can see as the boulevard that transects the actual campus, and also one of the entries, the main entrance to the campus. We will be constructing those as soon as we can bid them out. We're waiting for some grant approval on those plans, and that should be coming within the next, I'd say, 60 days. So as soon as we can jump through those grant hurdles, we will be bidding that out and then breaking ground. And we're hoping to have that infrastructure in by the third quarter of this year. And then, like I said, the state will move forward with their federal funding to go ahead and put that first building there.
Okay, that was going to be my question. The parish isn't building the building. The state is actually going to be building the building?
That's correct. It'll be FEMA recovery funds from Katrina, and this is an improved project for the North Shore Community College. It's been approved by FEMA. We got the official letter, and they're ready to go as soon as the infrastructure's in.
And is the parish doing the infrastructure, or is that grant money also?
The parish is funding the infrastructure that we're putting in right now with grant funding. Of course, the grant funds are reimbursable, so you may see, for those of you that pay attention to these things, a local budget line item, but that will be reimbursed by grant funding.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, Ms. Campbell. Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which lot is exactly, Lot 3, where the campus is going to be built, or lot?
It,
Next to the central circle.
Okay.
it's on the southeast
Lot 6?
quadrant. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See the right-of-way coming in?
Mm-hmm.
You'll be driving
And basically, that whole quadrant has been reserved to North Shore Community Technical College.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Campo.
You're welcome.
All right, Ron, you have a question?
Yes, I like the idea with the development.
Pull your mic down.
Sorry. Like the idea, is very, very well done. One question, you explained that the CFO or the CEO will be occupying one of the acres or lots as a domicile area. Is there any requirements or any limitations as to what to build? Is that something that's gonna have to come back to this commission for
No.
his structure compared to the commerce?
No, right now, the only, the NTCC, North Shore Technical Community College will be the first tenant, the initial tenant of the parish property. And they will occupy that first building. As of right now, we don't have any other occupants specifically identified and locked in. We are working on getting a master plan for the entire parish-owned property. But that will be the first tenant to come in. They will actually, believe we're transferring the property, if I remember right.
Currently, we have a CEA with North Shore Technical Community College, and that is what is satisfactory to the granting agencies for this first building.
And so they will put that first building there. We'll initially get the project kicked off.
All right, any further discussion? We have a motion by Mr. Davis to approve, seconded by Mr. Matthews. Please vote.
This is the whole business we're approving?
No, this is the preliminary. You wanna hit the button here? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, page 3, under final subdivision, SD 05-08-019F1A, Hidden Creek Phase 1A, Ward 1, District 3, developer owners Hidden Creek LLC, surveyors Randall W. Brown and Associates, Parish Council District Representative Honorable James Red Thompson, staff.
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction. The final inspection was made on January 31st, 2014. The inspection is closed as all concrete roads are constructed, road shoulders are constructed, and roadside ditches are functioning. The entrance median needs to be revised. 2, A through E are okay. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of $19,200 for a period of 5 years. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Mandatory developmental fees are required as follows. Road impact fee, $8,616. Drainage impact fee, $8,912. Fees are due before subdivision plats can be signed.
Thank you.
Provide Tammany Utilities with a complete set of water and sewer as-built plans. Fire hydrants must be painted according to parish code. Upon completion of the water system, fire hydrants shall be tested for gallon per minute capacity. The barrel of each fire hydrant shall be painted chrome yellow, and the top of the nozzle caps in each hydrant are to be painted as followed. Class A, 1,000 gallon per minute or greater green. Class B, 500 to 1,000 gallon per minute orange. Class C, less than 500 gallon per minute red. A negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not been issued by DHH as required by Section 4070 of the Subdivision Regulatory Ordinance 499. A letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not been issued by the utility provider as required. Staff recommends approval of proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments, and no plats are to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Matt Filati, 4937 Hurst. I'm with Meyer Engineers, representing the developer on this.
Okay.
As staff has mentioned, you know, we feel we've had everything taken care of. We submitted everything that was remaining yesterday and today. As far as the water, that will be taken care of tomorrow, that we're getting the samples pulled tomorrow. The parish is pulling them, so once that's complete, then we'll have everything done.
Okay? All right, thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner, do you have any comments or anything? Pug?
I've got one question. Looking at the sheet, it says this is flood zone designation A. Is that correct?
It shows almost the entire subdivision as A.
So it is flood zone A? Bug, does that answer your question?
Well, it answers my question, but it raises a concern of all the war stories we've heard in the last 2 or 3 months about the problems people are having financing homes. With the flood zone situation, the flood zone A is the worst, isn't it?
Well, flood zone V is the highest insurance. Flood zone A, the issue they have is with the changing insurance requirements. First Bigger Waters came out and then it got modified some for a period of 4 years while the effects are studied. But on new construction, the houses can be built high enough to avoid the high cost. It's the existing homes that are below base flood that are getting the extreme flood insurance rates. If you build a new house, you can get a discount. You're required to build at least 2 base flood. You can get a discount by building 1, 2, 3, or 4 feet above base flood if you're in flood zone A with a base flood determined. So you're able to get a large discount by building a little bit over, and if you're at or above base flood, the insurance usually isn't so bad. It's the people who are 1, 2, 3, or more feet below base flood, like what we were concerned about with Oak Harbor. If the preliminary map went into, which it won't, if the preliminary map went into effect the way it was presented in the 2008 preliminary D-firm, you'd have people 11 feet below base flood. And the flood insurance rate would cost more than the home mortgage by a great deal. So that, and you have down in Venetian Isles and all that in New Orleans, you have similar things where people are afraid of, and that's where you're hearing the horror stories with insurance is people below the flood elevation. New construction, that shouldn't happen.
May I add, 5 of the 8 lots, we've already have builders that have reserved them, and we're trying to make a deadline to get to the parade of homes. So that's why we need to get this approval today, because they got 3 months to get 5 of the homes built out of the 8 lots. So we've already got homes committed to being built on these, so I don't think there's an issue as far as I'm concerned about insurance.
I have a question. So some of these homes are going to be on pilings?
They're going to be raised. They will be on pier.
They'll be on pier?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I see in your information on your recording, it says no fill should be brought onto site?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're just using the fill you dig out from
From the ponds.
retention ponds? Is
Yes,
that what
sir.
you're doing?
That
And
is
you're not
correct.
going over 24 inches with that?
No, sir.
23 and a half?
No.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Davis to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. All right, it was brought to my attention that we heard, under old business, the, Tammany.
Yeah.
Okay, but we didn't take a vote on it. So we need to have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by.
I'll second.
Who? Bug? Move to approve, second by Mr. Davis. Any further discussion? Please vote. This is SD 08-06-008, Tammany Phase 1, revised tentative Ward 7 and 8, District 7 and 11. Developer owners Warehouser Real Estate Development. Engineer is Kelly McHugh and Associates. Honorable Jake Groby and Steve Stefancic are the representatives. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item, entering parish right-of-way, Lindbergh Drive, Ward 8, District 14. Request to enter parish right-of-way for the purpose of connecting a PVC water line. Petition is PDRG, care of Alex Bennett. Parish Council Representative is Honorable T.J. Smith. Staff?
The above referenced resolution was adopted on July 10th, 2012. The resolution states that the petitioner must submit all documentation within 6 months from the date of adoption. The petitioner has not furnished all documentation and is requesting extension of time. See the attached letter dated January 30th, 2014 from the petitioner's engineer. Since the time has expired for the petitioner to furnish all documentation, the following action is required by the Planning Commission to allow the petitioner to proceed with the project. The Department of Engineering has no objection to the extension. Action required, extend the adoption date to February 11th, 2014, thereby extending the 6-month submittal of documentation to 8/11/14 and the completion date to 2/11/16.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Matthews.
Didn't the petitioner ask for 12 months? Staff?
Staff?
Can anyone tell me? I thought I saw in here that they had asked for 12 months.
Looking at the email, it says they expect construction begin within 120 days. I don't see where it says a specific time.
12 months would be appreciated.
Yeah, if you look at the last
Go ahead.
line here, it says, "For these reasons, please accept this request to extend the permission in the right-of-way granted for another 12 months."
That's for the second one that we're gonna do next.
Oh, the next one? Oh, okay.
Yes, from
Sorry.
McKinney.
No, but the two are,
Okay. Jeff, you've got,
Mr. Shane?
Jeff Shane of Jones Fussell, and I happen to represent the group on both of these items that are extending infrastructure in the parish right-of-way. And it's a group of private parties and the city of Slidell that are doing a sewer and water extension in that area on both Lindbergh and McKinney. We would appreciate you extending, and also we would appreciate the 12 months. There've been problems getting it to this point, and it may take us 12 months, although we certainly hope it'll be more like 6 or 8.
staff, is there a reason to extend this for 12 months instead of 6 months? What's your opinion on this?
Well, if you take the action recommended, it would extend the completion date to February 11th, 2016, so that's.
Okay, there's
should
a
be
letter.
plenty of time.
That's probably
Yeah,
a typo.
so,
He might, that
oh, maybe that,
might be a typo, maybe he meant 2015.
okay, yeah, that's probably a typo, it probably meant 2015. 6 months middle of documentation to 8/11/14, so I guess completion date of 2/11/15, which would be the year he wants, so,
Okay, so
All right,
you all are
yeah.
recommending
yeah, so 1 year, yeah, so.
the 1 year? Okay, so moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Matthews, seconded by Mr. Davis. Ron, you have a comment?
No.
All right, any further discussion? Please vote.
So we're approving 1 year, correct?
Yeah, 1 year, that's correct. All right, motion carries, thank you. Entering parish right-of-way, McKinney Road, Ward 8, District 14, request to enter parish right-of-way for the purpose of connecting a PVC sewer line. The petitioner, City of Slidell, the Honorable T.J. Smith is the district representative. Staff?
The above referenced resolution was adopted on July 10th, 2012. The resolution states the petitioner must submit all documentation within 6 months from the date of adoption. The petitioner has not furnished all documentation and is requesting extension of time. See the attached letter dated January 22nd, 2014 from the City of Slidell. Since time has expired for the petitioner to furnish all documentation, the following action is required by the Planning Commission to allow the petitioner to proceed with the project. The Department of Engineering has no objection to the extension. Action required, extend the adoption date to February 11th, 2014, thereby extending the 6-month submittal of documentation to 8/11/2014 and the completion date to 2/11/15.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Shane, you have any further comments?
No, sir.
Anyone in the audience have any comments? I'll close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Mr. Hines.
I move it be approved.
Motion by Mr. Hines, seconded by Mr. Richard. Bill, you have a
Just one,
comment?
we are extending it 12 months, not 6 months as originally suggested. Okay.
That's, all right. Any further discussion? Please vote. There we go, 7. All right, motion carries. The machine's running slow tonight. It doesn't like the cold weather either. All right, we have no new business. Next item on the agenda, I believe, is an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Thank you.